Welcome
This is Quest Unscripted,
a vlog series on trending topics
and Quest solutions related to Active Directory.
Office 365.
Oh, and don't forget Azure AD.
You are here because you have questions.
We're here because we have answers.
I think.
We will address questions we've received from customers
We experience the same challenges as you.
All with the goal of helping you confidently move
manage.
And secure.
your Microsoft environment.
We call the show Quest Unscripted because
Except for this intro.
nothing we say is scripted or rehearsed.
And we're pretty sure you'll notice that right away.
Hey folks, this is Gazwan and Brian with Quest. Hey Brian.
Hello.
So I guess today what I wanted to talk about is the Quest On-Demand SaaS offering. And do you want to first introduce Quest On-Demand, and then I'll talk about what my questions are going to be.
Yeah, our Quest On-Demand portfolio is really our SaaS offerings around the capabilities we have for hybrid management of your on-premise, Microsoft ecosystem, as well as the Office 365 ecosystem as well.
Yeah, and currently we have 5 modules. So we have the on-demand recovery. We'll talk about these in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
On-demand migration, on-demand audit, on-demand license management, and then on-demand group management. So there's 5 modules. There's a 6th one that's coming out. That's going to be pretty cool, which is going to be on-demand governance for provisioning of Microsoft, Azure, and Office 365 workloads and governing those workloads. So now, Brian, that we have 5 modules in on-demand, why is our story better with all these modules? Why would all these modules, or how do these modules help improve the adoption and the management and the migration of customers' Office 365 Azure adoption?
Well, I think it's really that keyword hybrid, and the fact that we're bringing the old with the new. Everybody is going to Office 365, yet the legacy environment of on-premises Active Directory still exists, is going to keep existing for a period of time. So all the different new features, functionality Microsoft is adding is mainly focused towards the new environment, whereas you still need a visibility into both the old and the new.
So let's talk hybrid and let's talk on-demand audit.
Okay.
On-demand audit, from a hybrid mode standpoint, I basically, and I did a webcast the other day where I basically went in and I actually typed your name. I typed Brian Patton in on-demand audit, and I was able to see all the changes that you've done on our on-prem environment. I was able to see all the changes and all the sign-ins, failed or successful, that you've done in Azure. So from that one screen, I was able to see all your changes on-prem, cloud, and we have multiple tenants. So I was able to see on-prem and multiple tenant information about you, which is kind of cool. From an on-demand recovery standpoint, can you talk to us about how does the hybrid function or integration kind of works in, like with a specific example?
A good example that comes to mind is conditional access policies. This work from home that everybody's critically doing, security has been top of mind. So a lot of people use what they already had out there, which was typically a group configuring access for a conditional access policy that originated from on-premises. However, if something ever affects that group in your on-premises, that change will then move over into Azure Active Directory, and all those different things you used to configure with that hybrid group will no longer be there. For example, if I delete the sales group on premises, it'll delete it in Azure AD. And you would think I'll just restore it on premises, so everything's going to be back and good to go. Will happen with Azure AD Connect. It will then create a new Azure AD group, and those different configurations you did, such as conditional access policy settings, things like that, they don't get restored. So this is a gap that a lot of people I truly don't think are fully aware of.
Well, they don't know, because when you run AD Sync, you get back the exact same group name.
It looks the same.
You don't know, it's a new object ID. All the associations it had are gone. So your conditional access policies that this group was assigned to is no longer there. So if I'm a member of that group, I used to go in with, say, my MFA access policy and be prompted for two-factor authentication. I'm no longer prompted, although you thought that by resyncing the group, you put it back in place, where we actually everything is back in place. But the other thing I wanted to add is with the hybrid component of it. So even if the group is deleted from on-prem, we're tying it back to our on-prem solutions, making sure the group is back in place with the right members, and then we're syncing back using AD Connect, and then we are reassociating everything on the cloud. So that's where the hybrid kind of component plugs in. And most organizations, if not 100% of our organizations, are still obviously in hybrid mode.
Yeah, I think we give you a lot more flexibility with the fact that we can do on-premises as well as the configuration settings in Azure Active Directory.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about the license management. How does license management help organizations? What values do I get with on-demand license management?
One is just which licenses are out there and actively being used. Why am I going to pay for something that's no longer being used? For example, my kids, they were watching like an anime subscription for quite a while. And every month I would get that little charge, like, are you even watching this? And eventually they were not watching that. But it was months after they had been watching, where I already paid like another $30 for them to have that privilege. I want to know that so I can have a little bit of cost savings down the road.
Yeah. And we do that. We do it by user. We do it by department. We do it by product. So you can say by product, show me what licenses I'm consuming or I can save money on. So it's all in one. And the one thing that we're adding to the solution, it's called on-demand license management. And right now, most of the functions out there are reporting, but we're actually adding some management functions to it. So you can actually manage those licenses directly from the interface. And another module, obviously, is the on-demand group management. And that's where, again, talking about hybrid, we add a lot of value. So you want to talk to us a little about the value add of on-demand group management. What does it do and how does it do it from a hybrid standpoint?
Microsoft's made significant changes in Office 365 group management, but they're only looking at the target system and a lot of the different same best practices you have. For example, ensuring that a member of a group isn't permanent and there's attestation put in place. We extend that capability out where you can now do it for your on-premises groups as well. That we can assign ownership for any of your groups on-premises or in a Microsoft 365 group and have one interface to be able to do that attestation across all those different systems.
Right. And really what completes the story is the on-demand migration. So on-demand migration is basically your tenant to tenant, any workload migration, right? So it's users, it's emails, it's Teams, it's SharePoint, it's OneDrive. We're migrating the content. So if you're looking at a life cycle of Azure Active Directory and Office 365 management, compliance, migration, it really completes the cycle because you're either starting with a migration at some point, or you're ending with a migration at some point, or there's an acquisition that's happening, or there is a split that's happening, and you're going to have to plug in and make sure that the objects are in the right tenant. So it really completes that cycle. And that's why I think all these solutions together will provide you with a complete management, movement, and security of your Azure Active Directory and Office 365 investments. Don't you agree?
Yeah, to your point, the migration, it's all about having the best experience possible for your end users, who are the ones that are typically generating a revenue or providing a service for your organization. Yeah. So it's about making their lives easier while they're transitioning from one platform to another, or one Teams environment to another, or whatever changes need to be made.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
All right.